volunteered for this. This is the thing people will not understand when they tell this story later. They will tell it as the story of the Greek spy, the deceiver, the liar who tricked Troy into opening its gates. And all of that is true. Every word of it is true. But they will not say that you volunteered. Odysseus came to you 3 nights before the fleet was to sail. He sat down across from you in the dark of his tent, and he explained the plan. The horse, the men inside, the fleet pretending to leave, and then the part that required a specific kind of person, someone to stay behind, someone the Trojans would find, someone who would let himself be captured and would tell a story that would make the Trojans bring the horse through their own gate. He explained what it would require. He explained that it would be dangerous. He explained that if it went wrong, if the Trojans did not believe you, if they decided to question you more forcefully, if the story broke, he could not help you. The fleet would be at Tenedos. You would be alone on the plain with 30,000 Trojans, and a lie that had stopped working. He asked if you were willing. You said yes. You said it before he finished the sentence. This is the part they will not tell. This is a story about a lie that cost a city. Sinon is one of the least sympathetic figures in the Troy tradition. A man who deceived an entire population into destroying themselves, who used the kindness of an old king against that king who volunteered for a mission whose purpose was the destruction of a city and its people. He is not a hero of the war in any conventional sense. He is the instrument of its decisive moment, and yet he volunteered. He stayed alone on a plain in enemy territory while his army sailed away, with nothing between himself and discovery except a story he had prepared and the ability to deliver it convincingly. He was captured. He was beaten. He maintained the story. When Priam himself, the king of Troy, ordered him released and treated with kindness, Sinon used that kindness to complete the deception. There is a courage in this that is difficult to separate from its purpose. The courage is real. The purpose is the destruction of Troy. Ancient sources treat Sinon as a villain, specifically because he abused Trojan hospitality, the sacred obligation of a host to a guest, which in the ancient world was one of the most serious moral commitments. The Greeks brought the war to Troy. Sinon brought deception into it. Both are violations of different kinds at different scales. His name was Sinon. He was a Greek soldier, a cousin of Odysseus by some accounts, a man chosen for the mission because Odysseus trusted his intelligence, his composure, and his ability to construct and maintain a believable fiction under pressure. He was left behind on the plain of Troy while the fleet sailed to Tenedos. He waited to be found. In this story, you are Sinon. The fleet has gone. You are alone on the plain. The Trojans will find you. The story is ready. You have prepared it for weeks. Every detail is in place. Every answer to every possible question has been thought through. In this story, you are the man who stayed. The lie is in your mouth. The city is ahead. And somewhere inside you is the question you have not answered. What does it cost to do this well? You have known Odysseus for 10 years. 10 years is long enough to understand a man's specific intelligence. Not just that he is clever, which everyone knows about Odysseus, but how his cleverness works, what it looks like from the inside of a plan he has made. His plans have a specific architecture. They are built from the outside in. He starts from desired outcome and works backward to the necessary conditions. And then he finds the person or the thing that creates each necessary condition. The horse requires 3 conditions. First, the Trojans must believe the Greeks have left. The fleet must actually sail, actually disappear from the horizon. This is easy. The fleet can sail to Tenedos and anchor there, out of sight of Troy. Second, the horse must be brought inside the walls. This is the hard part. A large wooden structure left on the plain by a departing enemy is suspicious. It could be ignored. It could be burned. It needs a reason to be brought in rather than destroyed. Third, someone must provide that reason. You are the third condition. Your story, the story Odysseus built with you over 3 nights, testing every element, asking every question a suspicious Trojan might ask, finding the weakness in each answer and rebuilding it. Your story is the mechanism that converts a suspicious wooden horse into a sacred object that must be brought through the gate. The story is this. You are a Greek soldier who was marked for sacrifice. Odysseus chose you for sacrifice to appease Athena and ensure a safe voyage home. You escaped before the sacrifice and hid. The fleet left without you. You are now alone on a hostile plain, not an enemy but not entirely safe. A man abandoned by his own army who has nowhere to go. The story has the structure of truth. It is specific enough to be believable and vague enough not to be checkable. It assigns Odysseus the role of villain, which is useful because the Trojans already distrust Odysseus. It makes you a victim, which is useful because Trojan hospitality requires the humane treatment of suppliants. You have practiced it for weeks. You know every word. The hardest part of the preparation was not the story. It was the tears. Odysseus told you that you would need to cry. Not perform crying, actually cry. Or get close enough that the distinction does not matter to a Trojan watching your face. The Trojans will be looking for signs of deceit. A man telling a hard story about abandonment and near to death should show emotion. A man telling a false story while showing no emotion will be doubted. You practiced this. You sat in the dark of Odysseus's tent, and you found the real things inside you. The things that were actually painful. The things from 10 years of war that you had been carrying without fully feeling. And you put those things in your face while you said the false words. It worked. The words and the feeling are now calibrated. The feeling is real, the words are not. The fleet sails at dawn. The night before, you sit on the beach and you watch the preparations. The last equipment going onto the ships. The men moving with the energy of people who are finally, after 10 years, going home. The specific excitement of departure that has been the ambient condition of every man's imagination for a decade. The going home, becoming real, becoming imminent, becoming tomorrow. You are not going home tomorrow. You are staying. Odysseus comes to you in the late evening. He sits beside you. He does not say much. Odysseus in private is often quiet in a way that surprises people who know him only by his reputation for words. He sits beside you, and he looks at the sea, and after a while he says, "You can still change your mind." You say, "I know." He says, "The mission is critical, but you are not replaceable in the way a mission component is replaceable. If you do not go back," you say. "I know." You say, "I volunteered. I am still volunteering. Let me do this." He looks at you for a moment, then he nods. He stands. He puts his hand on your shoulder, once briefly, the gesture of a man who is not given to demonstrative affection and is making an exception. He goes. You sit on the beach. The sea is dark. You think about home, the island, the specific smell of it, the people there who do not know where you are or what you are doing. You think about them for a while, and then you put them away. The thinking about home is for after. There is work to do first. You think about what you are going to do to Troy. The city has been visible from the Greek camp for 10 years. The walls, the towers, the rooftops. You have looked at it every day. You know what it looks like. You know, in the abstract way of a soldier who has been fighting to take a place for a decade, what taking it will mean. People will die. The city will burn. Everything inside those walls, the lives, the buildings, the accumulated history of a city, will be taken or destroyed. Your story will be the mechanism that makes this possible. You sit with this on the beach. You do not look away from it. You are not able to look away from it, so you look at it directly, and then you set it aside, and you go to sleep. They find you mid-morning. You hear them coming. Trojan voices, the relief and curiosity of people coming out onto the plain for the first time in a decade, exploring the abandoned camp, discovering the horse. You have been crouched in the remnants of a supply area near the edge of the camp, making yourself visible enough to be found, without making yourself so obvious that the finding seems staged. When they see you, you run. This is part of the plan. A man hiding who runs when discovered looks like a man who is afraid. A man who is afraid looks like a man with something to lose. A man with something to lose looks like a man who is genuinely in the situation he claims to be in. You run, they catch you quickly. There are several of them, and you are one. And running on open ground against multiple pursuers is not something you are planning to win. They catch you, and they are not gentle about it. Hands on your arms, your collar, pulling you to your knees. You let them. You make yourself smaller. You look up at them. This is the moment. The first look, before any words. Your face is what they see first, and your face needs to show them something specific. Fear, yes, and exhaustion, and the specific look of a man who has been hiding for days and has been found and is not certain whether being found is better or worse than continuing to hide. You show them this. It is not entirely performance. You are alone on a Trojan plain with 30,000 people who have good reason to want you dead. The fear does not require manufacturing. The first question they ask is who you are. You give them the name, Sinon, a Greek soldier, cousin to Palamedes, who was wrongly killed by Odysseus. The detail about Palamedes is important. Palamedes was a Greek hero who Odysseus was accused of having killed through a false accusation. The Trojans have heard of Palamedes. They know the story. The mention of his name positions you immediately as someone with reason to hate Odysseus, which supports the story of Odysseus marking you for sacrifice, which makes the story consistent from multiple directions. Odysseus built this in. He anticipated the question about your identity and built the answer to contain a detail that would validate itself. They bring you to Priam, the old king. He is older than you expected. You have seen him from the plain during battles, a distant figure on the walls, and distance compresses age. Up close, he is very old. The weight of 10 years of siege is in his face. The specific look of a man who has been carrying very heavy for a very long time and is close to the end of the carrying. He looks at you with the specific attention of a man who has been making important decisions for a long time and has learned to read people. You hold his gaze. This is the hardest moment of the entire performance. Harder than the running, harder than the questions, harder than the beatings that came before they brought you here. Because Priam is looking at you with wisdom, and because wisdom, genuinely applied, is the thing most likely to see through what you are doing. He has lived too long and seen too much to be easily fooled by clever words. You do not try to fool him with clever words. You tell him the story simply, plainly, without the embellishments that make a story feel constructed. The truth, when it is truth, is often plain. You deliver the lie in the register of plain truth. You cry. The real things, the painful things from 10 years, come into your face while you speak the false words. Your voice breaks in the right places, not because you planned the breaks, because the real feeling and the false words have been calibrated long enough that they have merged. And when the feeling rises, it rises through the words, and the words carry it. Priam believes you. You can see it in his face. The decision forming, the mercy taking shape. He is a man who responds to suffering. He has watched his own sons suffer for a decade. Something in him recognizes the suffering in your face and responds to it. He orders you released. He orders you treated well. The mercy of an old king for an enemy in distress. You receive it. You use it. In the moment Priam shows you mercy, something happens that you were not prepared for. Not guilt. You prepared for guilt. You thought about guilt. You made your peace with guilt before you volunteered. Something more specific. Priam looks at you with the eyes of a man who is genuinely good, who has spent his life trying to be good, and he extends the goodness to you, his enemy, because his understanding of what goodness requires includes the enemy in distress. He extends to you the best of what he is, and you receive it, and you will use it to destroy him. You knew this was part of the plan. Knowing it was part of the plan does not make the moment of it easier. They ask about the horse. This is the moment the whole plan converges on. Every other element, the volunteering, the preparation, the being found, the story about Palamedes, and the sacrifice. All of it has been building to this question. What is the horse? You tell them, the horse is an offering to Athena. The Greeks built it to atone for the theft of the Palladium, the sacred statue of Athena that Odysseus and Diomedes stole from Troy's citadel. Athena was angry. The seer Calchas advised them to build a great offering. They built the horse. They made it large, you tell them, specifically so that the Trojans could not bring it through their gates. If the horse stayed outside the walls, the Greek fleet would have Athena's protection on the voyage home. If the Trojans brought it inside, Athena's protection would transfer to Troy. You watch their faces as you say this. You watch the information land. This is the piece Odysseus was most proud of, the inversion. The horse's size is explained not as a sign that something is hidden inside, but as a deliberate effort to keep it outside. The Trojans are told the reason to be suspicious is actually the reason to bring it in. The thing that should make them wary is reframed as a gift. They are looking at each other. You can see the calculation happening. The debate. The same debate that has been going on since they found the horse on the plain, but with a new element now. Your testimony, your explanation, the reason to bring it in. You wait. You have prepared for this. You have an answer for every question they might ask. They ask some of them, you answer. The answers hold. Laocoon does not believe you. The priest, you can see which one he is from the way the others defer to him. The specific social geometry of a group that has a person it considers authoritative. Laocoon listens to your testimony, and his face does not do what Priam's face did. It does not open. It stays closed, the face of a man who is processing information and not arriving at the conclusion you want him to arrive at. He says something to Priam. He gestures toward the horse. He is arguing against you, against the horse, against everything your presence here is designed to produce. He is right. You are hoping someone more powerful than him makes the decision. Laocoon walks to the horse. You watch him go. The crowd parts for him. He has authority here. The authority of a priest in a city that has been praying for 10 years. The authority of a man whose connection to the divine is trusted. He walks to the horse and he picks up a spear and he drives it into the side of the horse. The sound it makes is the sound of a spear striking hollow wood. You do not let anything show on your face. The spear strikes and the sound travels, and the crowd hears it, and some of them understand what the sound means, and some of them do not, and the ones who do are looking at the horse differently now, and you are running your alternatives in your head, the contingencies Odysseus built for this moment. Then the serpents come from the sea, 2 enormous serpents, moving across the plain with the speed of things that are not natural, heading directly for Laocoon. The crowd erupts. The specific sound of a crowd that has seen something it cannot explain. Something that crosses from the ordinary into the divine. The serpents kill Laocoon and his sons. You watch this. You were not told this would happen. This is not part of Odysseus's plan. Odysseus does not command sea serpents. The gods are doing this. Athena or Poseidon, or whoever has decided that the plan will succeed and is removing the last serious obstacle. The crowd reads the serpents as divine punishment for Laocoon's impiety in striking the sacred horse. They read it the way you would have needed them to read it, even without the serpents. The serpents did your work for you. The horse will be brought in. You have complicated feelings about the serpents, not about Laocoon. You have made your peace with what you are doing and its costs. And Laocoon was the clearest threat to the plan, and his removal is strategically necessary. The complicated feelings are about the gods. The serpents are divine intervention. The gods are on the side of the plan. The gods are supporting the lie you are telling, the deception of a people who have been praying to those same gods for 10 years. The gods are using you, or you are using them. The line between these things is not as clear as you would like. They bring you inside the walls, not as a prisoner now, as a guest. Priam's order has been clear. This man is under Trojan protection. He is treated with the hospitality that Troy extends to suppliants. He is fed. He is given a place to sleep. He is not watched exactly, though you are aware of being aware of the specific quality of attention that comes from people who are maintaining hospitality while not quite trusting the guest. You eat Trojan food. You drink Trojan wine. You sleep in a Trojan house. This is the strangest part. You have been fighting against this city for 10 years. You have stood in Greek formations on the plain and faced Trojan formations. You have watched the walls from the camp. Troy has been the enemy, not a place, an opposition, a collective that you were organized against. Inside it is a city, obvious, inevitable, and still strange to encounter. The streets are streets like any streets. The houses are houses like any houses. The people going about their lives in a city that is celebrating the end of a siege. They are people, old people, working people, families. The city that has been the abstraction of the enemy for 10 years is from the inside, specific and human, and detailed in all the ways that people and places are detailed when you are among them, rather than opposed to them. You walk through it. You note the streets. You note the gates. You note the positions of the guards, where they are, how many, how alert they are on a night when the city believes the war is over. You are still working. A child waves at you. You are walking through a market area in the afternoon, and a small child, 4, perhaps 5, standing with a woman who is presumably her mother, waves at you with the specific, uncomplicated friendliness of a child who has not yet learned which people are safe to wave at and which are not. You wave back. The child grins. The mother notices and pulls the child closer, not hostile, protective. The child looks back at you from the safety of the mother's side and waves again. You are going to be part of what happens to this city tonight. This child is going to wake up in the middle of the night to sounds that no child should wake up to. You walk past, you keep walking. The city sleeps deeply. This is what wine and relief produce. A deep, defenseless sleep. The sleep of people who have put down a weight they have been carrying for a decade, and whose bodies have immediately begun the process of recovery that exhaustion requires. Troy is sleeping more deeply tonight than it has slept in 10 years. You move through the dark streets, slowly, quietly, the specific movement of a person who knows they must not be seen, and who has the skills not to be seen. 10 years of war teaches this, the ability to move at night without the sounds that betray movement. You learned it early. You have never been more grateful for it than tonight. The horse is in the square inside the Scaean gate. You go to it. You have a torch. Not lit, a torch to be lit. The signal. The fleet at Tenedos is watching for it. When you light the torch, the fleet will sail. By the time the fleet arrives, the men inside the horse need to be out, and the gates need to be open. You stand beside the horse. The city is quiet. You think about the plan. Every element in place. The fleet at Tenedos, the men inside the horse. The gates attended by guards who are less alert than they should be, because the city believes the war is over. Your torch, your signal, you light it. The flame takes. You hold it up. Somewhere out on the dark water, men who have been watching for this light see it. The plan is in motion. You have done what you came to do. In the moment you light the torch, standing in the dark square beside the horse, you are aware of the specific irreversibility of the action. Before this moment, theoretically, the plan could have been stopped. If you had refused to volunteer, if you had told the truth under questioning, if you had not given the signal, all of these were possible at their respective moments, and you chose otherwise at each of them. Now the torch is lit and the choice is permanent. Troy will fall tonight. This is the consequence of all the choices that led here. And the torch in your hand is the moment when the consequence becomes inevitable. You hold the torch up. The flame is steady. The night air is still. You told them you were abandoned. You told them you were marked for sacrifice. You told them the horse was sacred. You told them that bringing it inside would protect their city. Every word was a lie, not almost a lie, not a partial truth shaped into deception. A lie, constructed, practiced, delivered with tears that were technically real because you found real pain to put behind false words. The architecture of the deception was perfect. Odysseus built it well. You executed it well. The city is going to burn tonight. People are going to die tonight. Priam, who showed you mercy, who ordered you treated as a guest, who looked at you with the eyes of a genuinely good man and extended that goodness to an enemy in apparent distress. Priam is going to lose everything tonight. You did this. You volunteered for this. You came here, and you opened your mouth, and you said the words that made it possible. The war would have ended eventually without the horse. Probably, perhaps, but not tonight. Not this way. The men inside the horse came in because of you. The gates will open because of what you did. The fleet sailing toward Troy right now is sailing toward a Troy that does not know it is coming. And it does not know because you stood in front of Priam and you cried real tears behind false words. You carry this. You chose to carry it. The weight was known when you volunteered. You carry it anyway. Odysseus asked you once in the preparation whether you had doubts. Not as a test. Genuinely asking. The way Odysseus sometimes asks things that other men do not ask, because asking them leads somewhere uncomfortable. You said, "I have doubts about everything," he said. "But you are still going," you said. "Yes," he said. That is the answer, not the absence of doubt. The action despite the doubt. He nodded. He went back to the plan. You have thought about this exchange many times in the days since. The action despite the doubt. This is what you are. What chose to be on this mission, on this night, in this city. You survive the night. The fleet arrives. The soldiers emerge from the horse. The gates open. The fighting is brief. By dawn, Troy is taken, and you are a Greek soldier in a Greek-occupied city. No longer a man alone on a hostile plain with a story, just a soldier at the end of a war. Odysseus finds you in the morning. He does not say much. He puts his hand on your shoulder, the same gesture as the night before the fleet sailed, and he says, "Well done." You nod. That is all. The exchange of two men who understand each other and do not require more. The voyage home takes time. You arrive in Ithaca eventually, your home. The specific smell of the island, the specific quality of its light, the people who were here when you left and are still here, older, who come to meet the ships, and among them the people you love, who did not know whether you were coming back. You do not tell them about the mission, not as a decision, not as a deliberate choice to withhold. It simply is not a story that has a natural shape for telling in the ordinary contexts of homecoming. The mission required things of you that have no easy translation into the language of an evening at home, of a family reunited, of the ordinary life resuming after 10 years of war. You carry it, not as a burden that breaks you, as a weight that is part of what you are now. The mission happened. You did what you were asked to do. The war ended the night you lit the torch. Thousands of men who might have died in years of continued fighting went home instead. These are also true things. The weight and these things coexist. They do not cancel each other out. You live with both. Years later, a traveling poet performs the story of the fall of Troy in a hall where you are a guest. He tells it well. The horse, the ruse, the deception of the Trojans. He tells about Sinon. He makes Sinon the villain of the piece, the necessary villain, the man whose lies made everything possible and whose lies destroyed a city. The hall listens. Some of them know you are Sinon. They look at you sideways. You listen to the story of yourself told by someone who was not there, who knows the shape of what happened but not the inside of it. The story is accurate. The inside of it is yours. The lie was perfect. This is the specific weight of having done something very well that you are not certain should have been done. If the lie had failed, if Priam had seen through you, if Laocoon had prevailed, if the horse had been burned, the weight would be different. The failure would carry its own meaning, but the lie worked. Every element held. The tears landed correctly. The story created exactly the effect it was designed to create. You are very good at the thing you did. Being very good at a thing does not resolve the question of whether the thing should have been done. You think about Priam, not often, not with the regularity of a man haunted, but sometimes, the specific quality of his eyes when he looked at you and decided to show mercy, the specific goodness of it. Not soft goodness, not naive goodness, but the goodness of a man who has been governing a city under siege for 10 years and who has maintained the capacity for mercy across all of it. That goodness was real. You used it. The using of genuine goodness for a destructive purpose is its own kind of weight. You set it down sometimes. You pick it back up. This is what carrying looks like for the things that have no resolution. You set it down when the ordinary life is present enough to occupy you. You pick it back up when the quiet arrives and there is nothing else to hold. You volunteered. You did what you came to do. You went home. The war ended. Troy fell. You carry what you carry. The torch is long since cold. The flame you lit that night is the only thing that cannot be taken back. Close your eyes. Every word was a lie. The tears were real. Priam showed you mercy. You used it. You volunteered for this. A note of history. Sinon appears most fully in Virgil's Aeneid, written in the 1st century BC, where he is described in detail as the Greek soldier left behind to deceive the Trojans. Virgil's Sinon is a skilled liar who constructs an elaborate false story about being an enemy of Odysseus and being marked for sacrifice. He cries convincingly. He is taken in by Priam, released, and given the protection of Trojan hospitality. He then uses this position to give the signal that releases the soldiers from inside the horse and brings the Greek fleet back from Tenedos. In Virgil's account, Sinon is explicitly framed as a villain. His deception is presented as morally reprehensible, a violation of the sacred laws of hospitality that the ancient world took extremely seriously. A guest who abused the host's protection was considered to have committed one of the gravest possible offenses against divine law. Sinon's crime in the ancient moral framework was not simply strategic deception in wartime, but the specific violation of a sacred relationship. Laocoon, the Trojan priest who warned against the horse and was killed by sea serpents, appears in Virgil and in earlier fragmentary sources. His famous line, That he feared the Greeks even when they brought gifts is one of the most quoted phrases from ancient literature. The sea serpents that kill him and his sons are sent by the gods. Poseidon in most accounts, Athena in others, specifically to prevent him from stopping the plan. The Trojans interpret the serpents as divine punishment for his impiety in striking the sacred horse. Whether Sinon was a real historical figure or a literary invention is impossible to determine. The wooden horse itself, whether it represents a real stratagem, a memory of some kind of siege device, or pure legend, is similarly uncertain. What is certain is that the story of Sinon has been told for nearly 3,000 years. As one of the founding examples of strategic deception, the lie that ended a war. The moral complexity of Sinon's position. A soldier who volunteered for a dangerous mission that required lying, who used genuine mercy against the person who showed it, who carried out a plan that ended a war at the cost of a city, is one of the things that makes the story endure beyond its historical specifics. The question of what it costs to do something like this well, and what the doer carries afterward, is not answered by the ancient sources. It remains open. Next, Helen.